Skate is coming this year, and I want to get to 100k before then. And when I do, I have a time capsule of a podcast I would like to release. So subscribe if you want to hear trash opinions. Skate 3 is a weird game, and it's not surprising that there were some things in this game that were overlooked during development. And I would like to go over those things, especially the city of Port Carverton and how it's laid out. Now, I'm not going to really talk about out-of-bounds stuff and how there's a weird shade of coloring, deformed structures with weird texturing, and square-like Minecraft hedges. These things are out of bounds and were never meant to be seen by the public. But what is meant to be seen by the public is this gas station by Art Gallery. Now, there's nothing wrong with it, but if you give a good look at the logo of this gas station, if you've ever seen speed art of people making banners back in the early 2010s, you may have seen this font. That's because the font that is used is called Planet Cosmos. It's a very popular font that I just didn't expect to be in this game. But something that you do expect to be in this game are pickup trucks. They're there, they exist, you can hop into the back of them. However, they do not exist in downtown. Look as you might, go through every nook and cranny of every street possible, you will never find a pickup truck. Your team logo is a sticker that gets plastered all around Port Carverton. And I've mentioned before that there are some stickers that just float around where they shouldn't be. But generally, these stickers appear on walls, which are slightly hovering above the actual wall itself, but it's not too far to break the illusion. However, there are two locations where they just didn't even try, like this stair set by Park This, a pretty largeable gap between the sticker and the wall. Also, if you come to the observatory skate path, this sticker on the ledge, same thing. There's no way they messed this up twice in a row. At Maloof NYC, by looking underground, for some reason, there is a floating bush. By the clock tower, you'll find this historical note on the wall that says, at this location in 1924, PCU influenced the world by discovering quarry mining techniques using flatulence. That means Port Carverton itself was built on everything that was gathered at the quarry using fart. A case of fart tech being used are two pole jams by the quarry and Ghetto Spot. Both of them look the same, but they are different lengths. Another victim of fart tech, and will for surely mess with your OCD, is the semicircle by Ripon Tower. You have this rail that goes all the way around until it doesn't. There just happens to be a gap within this rail semicircle. And the most disappointing part about it is that it hangs out over the ledge, making it unsymmetrical. When it comes to fart tech designing, this sidewalk by Park and Play continues until it doesn't. But that doesn't mean that the sidewalk ends. Going through the wall, it's clear that the sidewalk is still there. They just decided to build over the sidewalk. Also, this is a terrible place for a billboard. No one's ever gonna see that. Alright, quick question. Have you ever seen a fire hydrant in this game? Now you have. Okay, but now, using fart tech, they somehow managed to fit one right inside this building. It just sits there all alone, unable to be used by firefighters that do not exist in this game as well. Outside of Sherwin Pool is this corner, and in this corner there's this little piece of glass sticking out. I don't know, that's nothing important. Anyways, on the other side there's Ripon Tower. This glass awning likes to cover this side of the building. And you know, nothing's too special except it wraps around the building, which peeks out into the Sherwin corner. They didn't cut it off? What's so hard about cutting it off right before it hits the wall? And you, Blue Archway, is not helping with your clipping ass. Coming back to the clock tower, these corner exits have two lampposts on either side of the exit. Besides this exit, for whatever reason, those lampposts don't exist there. However, in this corner, those lampposts are there, but they're clipped into the building. Fart tech is something else, man. Another thing that's built by Fart tech is this seam at Industrial. You can clearly see these two textures don't connect correctly. And there might be other seams throughout the world just like this one. Alright, no more fart tech. This time we're blaming the citizens of Port Carverton. Because Skate 3 is considered mainly an older game, they use design techniques of that era. And one of those techniques is repeating patterns. Very noticeable if you happen to look out into the ocean, you just see a repeating pattern of waves. Well, I mean, newer games still do it, they just have a better way of hiding it. But this also counts for the square tiles by Hartley Stadium. Each square is the same texture, placed right next to each other. Not rotated, not cropped, not stretched, the exact same. But if you look into that square, you can see that there's a reminiscent of a cigarette butt in every square, meaning there is a serial chain smoker going around Hartley Stadium, smoking his lungs out and dropping his butts everywhere he walks. Alright, who are we pointing the fingers to? This guy? Yeah, why not? Now, I did say I wasn't going to talk about anything out of bounds, but this is considered in bounds. At Maloof NYC, these ledges are here, and they are textured. However, on this ledge, on this side, that's facing towards the fence, this side is completely stretched out. At Sanatorium, this window texture is duking it out with another window texture to see who's the superior window texture by flickering in between each other. Over by Observatory, on the other side of this wall, you can clearly see that this texture just gave up being a texture. Alright, here's something you need to know about Skate 3. Skate 3 has baked lighting. What does that mean? If I were to move this tree, the shadow that the tree emits on the ground will not move. It is simply another texture overlaid on other textures. And for 99.9% of the time, they get this right. Except for this one little strip over by Hastings. Every other strip is shadowed and lighted correctly. At Ale Town, every rail is shaded correctly, besides this rail, which has no shading on it. The same can be said over by 9th Dimension. These rails are perfectly shaded, besides this rail. And these other 3. But not to forget about this blinding light of a ledge. This also affects objects at farther distances, but they end up correcting themselves once you get closer to it. In downtown, there are intersections with stoplights that are perfectly functional, going from green to yellow to red, and telling pedestrians when they can actually cross the street. But this one intersection outside of Walmart is different because you only get about that much time to cross the road. Sorry pedestrians, your life does not matter. Coming to the campus bubble, if you get inside the bubble, you would notice along the wall, the textures of the wall look like an actual picture and not something part of the game. Well, if you happen to see the 2024 development update from Skate themselves, you would know that that's actually the inside of EA headquarters. Just a little fun fact. Skate 3, like most games, like to unrender parts of the map that you currently don't reside in, giving it a low poly texture to cut down on memory and making it look semi-realistic from further distances. Now these affect trees as well. Here is a tree fully rendered in, and here is a tree not fully rendered in. But this does not exist for Industrial, or every tree in Industrial is always fully rendered in. They're just missing the trunk of their tree. Another thing about low poly textures exists in downtown at Rosalita. Here is fully rendered Rosalita. Now here's unrendered Rosalita. And in unrendered Rosalita, you see red spots dotted throughout the park. That's because it is unrendered textures from the Dr. Pepper challenges that existed at one point in time. Once upon a time, Skate 3 did a Dr. Pepper promo code which allowed you to play these Dr. Pepper challenges. Now, these promo codes don't exist anymore, and the only way to get these challenges is to play those challenges with someone who already have had played those challenges. But even if you don't have those challenges unlocked, the reminiscence of the actual challenges still exist in the low poly textured version. You could also see this big Dr. Pepper poster without having unlocked the challenge by standing over by Crystal Tower, where that region gets unrendered. As soon as you get closer to it, it fully renders in, and that Dr. Pepper disappears. At the teleport spot to get to the downtown skate park, in the unrendered version there is a hallway that leads to nowhere, which means that there probably was plans to just walk into the skate park rather than just teleporting. This intersection at downtown concludes that Port Carberton does not have great drivers. Every car that comes through this lane always runs over this part of the sidewalk. Every single time. I bet the truck drivers wouldn't run over it. I'm just saying. In every skate game, you can do a wall ride. To do a wall ride, the programmers had to tell the game that yes, you can wall ride this surface, meaning that there are some surfaces out there where you just can't wall ride. And it's these warehouse doors on the other side of the loading dock. Doesn't matter at the angle you attack it, you cannot wall ride these doors. But because you can't wall ride these doors, that means if you get up and close and personal against the wall and do a nollie, then hold a grab, you will go up the wall. On basic walls where you can wall ride, it doesn't really work that well. Inside this warehouse at Old Factory, due to fart tech, this pipe is inverted. But also due to fart tech, that means that there are invisible ledges on each side at this spot at Memorial. So there are ledges in this game that are not grindable. We just call those ungrindable. There are just some surfaces that have an edge that you just cannot grind. And these edges are usually placed in areas where it's just inconvenient to get to. But this ledge in Ale Town, which is right in the open, clearly meant for skating, is not grindable. Another ledge that's wide out in the open is this ledge at Park and Play. Nothing's wrong with it, you can grind it all you want, but the moment you do a dark slide, lip slide, or board slide, fart tech, yeah, let's blame it on that. This strip at Dry Docks, by doing a trick over it, your character will be tilted off axis, and the culprit is underneath what you're skating on, because there's a little divot it tries to land into every time you flick a trick. Now, I covered this before in my Skate 3 map is broken video, but I never told you the reason why until now. And the point I'm trying to get at is that it happens over by 9th Dimension. Going along this strip, doing a trick, you'll be tilted off axis a little bit. However, there is no divot underneath you, but the box that's next to you somewhat clips into the ground. It also works at this spot at 9th dimension because this box is steeper and falls more into the ground. Alright, so we know that you cannot skate on water, but we also know that you can pop off water, which means you cannot skate out of bounds, but you can pop out of bounds. Free skate skaters. Each free skate skater has something different about them which makes it different from every other character. For Shingo's case, if you do a fakey super dude, he does not know how to hold his board. I guess he just never learned how. Alright Shingo, take notes. This is how you pull out a super dude. Now this is how you pull out a super dude really fast. To pull out a fast super dude, you either do a no foot air or a Christ air, and right when the animation takes their board off their feet, you then hold onto the other trigger, which snaps them into the super dude position. Here's something that will trigger your OCD. Not sure if it's intentional or not, but the on the spot arrows. Getting a closer look at it, there is just one part of the arrow which happens to be brighter than all the others, and it's not flush all the way around. NPCs, when they're not chain smoking around Hartley Stadium, they are sitting on benches. You personally can just place a bench anywhere you want, and they will sit on that bench. They also love getting drinks from vending machines, but that doesn't mean that placing your own vending machine will cause NPCs to grab drinks from that location. Wherever they grab the drinks from the vending machine is a particular spot they have programmed into the game, meaning you could delete the vending machine and an NPC will walk along and grab a drink out of thin air. When creating a park and saving the park, the game will take a screenshot and display the thumbnail in your park selection to give you a visual clue of what park you want to be in. Now these thumbnails will try their best to include parts of the map that you have built your park around, meaning that there are 4 different locations where they take a screenshot from. And you can see by one of my thumbnails, you see a small person standing in the middle of the park. So if you happen to block 3 out of the 4 possible locations where the camera can take a screenshot from, you can get your face directly in the thumbnail. Yes! Yeah. Well, in a park, you can abuse the reset prop option by making a pallet spawn inside your feet. Once you have done that, you can sketch onto the dumpster, manual, and ever so slightly turn to the left or right, and you will start moving forward. Well, there is no reset prop option when you're outside of a skate park. That's where you get this drum barrel and put it right next to a dumpster, hop on top of it, and start sketching. The skateboard would wedge itself underneath the barrel, trying to grab onto the dumpster, pushing you forward, but it won't last that long. What else doesn't last that long is dropping into the corner of the porta potty when it's on its side. Doing so, you'll spin around, and yeah, that's about it. But wait a second, am I seeing that correctly? Perpetual motion? No, it's not. I can't do it. But it is possible. By using the rolling dumpster and at a specific angle, getting hooked on something to make it spin around, you can actually get perpetual motion. More motion to be created is getting the billboard rail, putting it on its side, getting in between the rail and the billboard, then doing a nose manual. The billboard will start moving, not without you falling over. But if you happen to place it in between a pole, it becomes really violent. Good thing I have no fall to see the true extent of how violent this rail actually is. Speaking about objects, when you exit out of Object Dropper, all objects in the world end up doing a little refresh where they collide into each other. That's why if you have a stack of plywood and you back out of Object Dropper, they just trampoline off each other. Using this information, if you get up against an object, open Object Dropper and exit out, and quickly walk forward, you can phase right through it. But that only works on objects that you have placed. For whatever reason, on natural spawning objects, it simply won't allow you to phase through those objects. But in other cases, you can climb up the object if the object is not that big. Alright, in the past I talked about doing the snowboard glitch with this bridge. Then I talked about how you can get the snowboard glitch anywhere using a container. Then I said you can also get the snowboard glitch in Skate 2 and do the snowboard speed glitch as well. But in both those videos, I couldn't showcase me getting speed from the snowboard, and I finally found out why. That's because you need to have hard wheels. I usually play with completely soft wheels. The moment I turn them to hard, I can do the speed glitch now. Alright, now here's a glitch that I know how to do, but have never been able to do it, nor have seen anyone else do it until now. This one Redditor, Adventurous Crew 50, found out a bonk it glitch where you can get ridiculous air going up a vert wall. All he says is, you do a dark catch hand plant, but do it a little bit late. For some reason, that transitions into big air. I have never done it, I've never seen anyone else do it. This is the only video evidence of this actually working. Another glitch that no one knows how to make on demand is getting on your board and your character spazzing out. I can tell you why this happens. When you call your board gets positioned into your hand upside down, but it wants to quickly flip right side up so you can put it on your feet. And that's where the game glitches out and causes you to spaz out. How to get this occurring every time, no one knows. Here's something that we do know. The stealing park glitch, where you're able to save a replay in a park and then go back to that replay and take it for yourself. I gave a full explanation in my park building video, but essentially using this same tactic, you can preserve your speed. Get a lot of speed, open up your skate reel, go to a replay that's in a different district, try to save that replay, doesn't let you, continue to save browser, back out of the replay, and now you have speed going somewhere else. You can also get to the edit skater room by standing at this rock at university and then trying to view a replay in skate school. You will be spawned right above edit skater room where you could just fall right back down, hitting NPCs and or AI skaters. You can only do this animation by holding RB or R1 next to one of these two. You cannot do a hitting animation while no one is next to you, but I just did. See, the game tracks your X and Z coordinates next to an AI or an NPC, and if those two line up, you can then do the hitting animation, which means it completely forgets about the Y coordinate, so you could do the hitting animation when you're above an NPC. However, it does not knock them over. Here's something I noticed when the Deadly Ditch cutscene started playing. Let's see if you could figure it out as well.
Death race! Got the need for speed.
Come on, watch it.
Did you see it? Okay, what if I do it like this? Now you had to have seen that. During that animation of when they're pushing each other trying to start the game, the sun position changes, and once that cutscene's done, it goes back to normal. This is the only cutscene that I know that does this. When you play the Own the Spots that are scattered around the world, landing in manual, your points immediately drop. The only way to keep them is through popping and or reverting. And that is the only game mode that does this. Every other game mode, landing in a manual will continue your combo. However, if you complete the Danny Way Mega Park Jam, and then go into any career 1-up that's not through party play, your points will drop every time you land into a manual. Okay, so here's something that I just do not understand. For whatever reason, there's a rail inside the ground at Maloof NYC. You heard it, it's there but invisible, and it's pretty hard to get consistently. By looking underground, there is literally nothing there. When playing Coach Frank's grinding tutorial, the first 2 times you hop on the rail you get a slow motion effect. But if you were to lock in a board, a lip, or a dark catch with no momentum, your character will naturally fall off the rail. But because you didn't complete the grind, you are in a forever slow motion state. But if you get on your board, the slow motion stops. So to save some time, if you go to the end and do the exact same thing, the last rail before the finish line, get into the slow motion state, and cross the finish line, you will be on your board again, but this time in slow motion. Some time will pass, but then it will reset again even though you didn't cross the finish line or went out of bounds, and as long as that text appears on the screen, you are in slow motion. The moment it stops appearing on the screen, you go back to regular motion. Going back to the On the Spot challenges, these On the Spot challenges have a boundary limit, meaning if you go too far, it will deactivate the spot. A glitch I covered previously is going up to one of the On the Spot challenges, not starting it, but moving to a different location and then hitting the home console button, waiting for the loading to be done, then activating the challenge. You have moved the challenge into a different district. So doing this exact thing from Twin Spires to downtown, Twin Spires is in the same location as Crystal Towers. However, every time you move around, you are slightly that far away from the out of bounds of the Twin Spires On the Spot. With every step, the countdown keeps resetting. Using this same logic, if you take any of the art gallery On the Spots, Twin Spires, or Bump Riser and move it to any DLC, for whatever reason, there is no out of bounds on these On the Spots. It is infinite. It stretches the whole map and you will never deactivate the spot. Okay, now here's a really cool glitch. If you manage to transfer from a wall ride into a dark slide, flicking out of that dark slide will make you go back to the same angle that you were when riding that wall. Not every rail will happen to pop you up like so. This one just happens to do it. And this does work at a vertical angle. Popping off a ceiling and flicking out, your character will flip upside down. Alright, now here are two things I don't know how to explain. One, I placed a pallet and it started floating. What the fuck? Two, when messing around with objects, I managed to get into this stuck air position. And because of air timer, I kept on getting reset and getting respawned back into the air, and still being stuck in this floating position. Now I only have the recording of it, of when it was happening, not before it actually happened, because I didn't have my replay buffer on. But what I was doing was messing around with the dumpsters. And I guess I happened to open up the object dropper in an area where I shouldn't have been able to open up the object dropper. If you get into a cramped space and try to open up the object dropper simply won't open up. It's constantly trying to check for a safe area to place objects, and if that area is obstructed, it won't open. And because I was messing around with objects that can move, when I opened the object dropper, it was probably a safe area to open up. But during that time of transitioning into the object dropper, one of the objects obstructed the area, making the game not want to open up the object dropper. But it's still opening up, making it a Schrodinger's object dropper situation, and probably caused this glitch. If you happen to move districts, you're still in that state. Well, I was in free play, so let's exit out of free play and into career mode. It is no surprise that I play on Emulator, and on RPCS3, there is a log of every action that happens when the game is running. And here you could see the chunk that I'm in, if someone made a sound, and AI characters coming into view like Terry Kennedy. For whatever reason, if you ever hear a bird call, it is marked as European bird. Apparently, these birds are European and not native to Port Harvard. Okay, now let's start data mining into this game. Skate 3 is packed into what we call big files. These big files unpacked shows every file used in order to make up this game. And by going into FE Dynamic, this is everything that makes up the Skate 3 menu. We got promos, the flicking controls, the home screen menu, which I personally have changed myself, the pre-rendered images of the clothing artifact being used in the edit skater. Anything that's UI, it's in here. But for whatever reason, there are leftover textures that are not used by this game, and some of these textures are Skate 1 and Skate 2 textures. I don't know why they're here, they are never used. Thanks to the Skate 3 modding team, we managed to scrape every animation that's in this game that is connected to your skater. But not just your skater, but also pro skaters, because there are unique animations that are only on these pro skaters. And within this dump contains some unused animations, specifically from Gons. Who is Gons? Well, Gons is short for Mark Gonzalez. Mark Gonzalez is only a playable character in Skate 1, and somehow some of his animations survived to Skate 3. And luckily with this cheat table I could showcase his lost animations. So you know that air guitar emote that you can do this game? Well, that sucks, because Mark's gesture is way better. Look at him go, he's shredding. He's playing through the fire and flames, and he's gonna FC the whole thing. And now for the last thing, to cap it off, I'm gonna talk about something I already made a whole video about on my second channel, Gekki. What is Gekki? For all we know, it's the screen that pops up when you reset on party play by having a weird timing to it. It's practically a lock screen because you cannot exit out, and the only way to play the game again is by restarting. If you look up Gekki, you'll only find two results. One, a video from 2017, and two, some French guy making a forum post about it in 2015. You might find an Urban Dictionary definition, but it has nothing to do with Skate 3. Well, it's been a couple weeks since I made that second channel video, and I have an answer. It's an anime? It's an adult film from 1969. To brain rot the synopsis, an artist creates a Gooner painting and causes two people to go on a killing spree. This is somehow related to Skate 3? Okay, listen, I don't have a solid answer as to why Gekki is in Skate 3, and I cannot ask Cuz because I know he did not work on party play. All I'm hoping for is a big giant building in the next Skate game that just says Gekki.